Hello friends and welcome. Today I'm going to tell you how to play Lina Support in the laning stage. That's going to be our focus. Lina is a great laner. She tends to be a huge lane bully. She can win her lanes, scales really well, which is great for pubs because you can play a little less greedy and be effective. But, if you've got those teammates who aren't farming so well, aren't doing all that stuff, you kind of have room to scale up quite well and kind of take control a bit of the game and become like a pseudo core. That's also one of her weaknesses, that everyone tries to do that and then they farm too much and kind of hurt their teammates. So be careful of that. But still, she has those options, and that's why I think she's a great pub hero and why I wanted to do this video. Just kind of maybe if you're a beginner, maybe if you're new to Lina, give you some ideas of how to approach the laning stage, and you can go from there. We're going to start by talking about her stats, because this kind of defines what she is going to try to do in the laning stage. And the first thing I need to highlight is her attack range. You probably didn't expect me to highlight that first. I don't know. This is the third highest base attack range in the game, just behind Ancient Apparition and then Techies. So those are the only two heroes with greater attack ranges, ignoring talents, abilities, and items, which even when you factor those in, she's still one of the longest range heroes. So what does that mean? She gets to attack almost for free. Against melee heroes, certainly. Against short-ranged ranged heroes, she also gets in a lot of free attacks, which is great because she has a slightly better than normal base attack time at 1.6. Most people have 1.7. That means she can attack faster. And then her attack damage, it's not crazy, but it's decent. It's fine. Techies has very long attack range, but he does very little damage. So it's like, whatever, just let him hit you. But Lina, it's significant. Like, okay, that's kind of annoying. She's got to stop hitting me. And then you don't stop hitting him, and you do a bunch of damage. So these three things factored together make her a great lane bully that can constantly harass without really getting punished for it, or that's the goal. If they have gap closers or if you position poorly, you can be punished, and we want to avoid that. Now, her other stats, armor, it's fine. Health pool, it's fine. But it's not, she still doesn't really want to take extended trades like right on top of her. She wants those free auto attacks. I've maybe been saying that a bit too much, but I really have to emphasize that's what you want to go for with Lina. Your move speed is not that great, so if they have decent attack range and you hit, you stand still to attack them, maybe they run in and they attack you too. But for many other heroes, you kind of want to attack, and if they start to approach you, you just back away. And you have enough attack range that they probably don't get a hit in when they run towards you. When they give up and they turn around, that's when you turn around and you just hit them again for free. And you're just going to repeat that, and this attack range lets you do it. So I really needed to emphasize this for you guys. That is kind of your approach into the laning stage. So that's what she does in the lane based on her stats. But how does her spells come into play there? So at level 1, you're going to take Light Strike Array, and this spell has so much versatility with how she's going to use it, and I could spend a lot of time talking on it. We'll see how much I do. But first, let's talk about landing it. Let's start with that. It's got a decent cast range at 625, and then the radius is 250. So you can hit people at a total 875 range. Now, if they're standing still, of course, you can just drop it on top of them. Keep in mind, see this blue circle? It's overlapping with this anti-mage a little bit there, but it's not actually touching her collision box, which doesn't really show. So you do have to kind of put it in a little further to land the stun. So if you ever think oh, why didn't that stun? They were in that circle. That is why. You do have to get it a little bit in the center of the hero. Now, it doesn't matter where you land the stun. It's the same damage and stun the whole time. Now, when trying to hit the spell, two things. 310 move speed is around the time where you can kind of just drop it right on top of the hero, and they can't really get out of the circle in time. Now, depending on your timing, maybe they will get out. So if they're faster than 310 move speed, you can't really just put it right on top of them. But if they're slower than 310 move speed, you can pretty much just target their hero, and you'll probably hit. But you can still hit faster heroes. And the way to do that is to aim, and you should do this for, even if they're slower, you want to aim slightly in front of the hero, about where I'm aiming right now. The reason for this is that they're facing whatever direction. And if they run forward, that makes the most sense. But then there is more space for you to hit them because of the radius of the circle. They could turn around, and there's less space they have to run to get out of your stun, but there is turn rates in Dota, and so by the time they turn around and then run backwards, usually they still get hit by your stun. Not to mention, they may be unclear where you're targeting because they can only see your animation. They can't see exactly where you're targeting. So a lot of the times people still just run forward hoping they'll get out of it, and that's why aiming forward is usually the way to go. Now, even if they try to cut, so let me show you. I'm going to aim right here. She tried to turn. Oh, I made her turn. But because of the time it takes to turn around and then go in another direction, even though the distance is technically shorter, it still hit her. And we can have her just like run back and forth. By the time she turns, oops, that wasn't what I wanted you to do. We can have her go back and forth like this. And even if we aim in front of her and she turns around, because of the time it takes a turn, she still gets stunned like that. So in trying to land the spell, I really recommend you aim slightly in front of them, and that should help you guys out a lot. To maximize your damage on this spell, you want to try to attack, then stun, then attack. I'm not going to go into the whole reason on this why. There's a older, actually it's relatively new video explaining why, but it has to do with just getting in your right clicks more efficiently. So just try to make that a habit. Attack, stun, attack. They're stunned, so you can probably even get in another one. One attack, two attacks, and then let's say they're ranged here, they come to retaliate. Nah, you just run away. And this is how you win a lot of trades as Lina. When they decide to come fight you, you just easily stun them, you hit them again, and you walk away. If they decide to turn around, boom, you get another free auto attack because of your crazy attack range. So, Lina, constant poking with her right clicks, even without any spells. But the way she's going to use Light Strike Array is to get in more auto attacks or prevent them from getting close, and then when they turn around, back to auto attacks. You can also use Light Strike Array to cut trees. It's technically a skill shot, even though it's not like, you know, shot. So you don't have to see the enemy either. If they're hiding behind trees, you can still stun them. If they're untargetable, you can stun them. It's AoE, so you can hit multiple people. If they're going for a last hit, you know where they're going to stand. You can stun them and then deny the creep. I'll show that later in a clip. There's a lot of different ways you can use LSA if you're creative. So I don't think I could cover every possible use. But just keep it in mind. Think there's a lot of ways you could use this. Now, when you hit level 2, you're going to get Fiery Souls. 2 reasons for this. 1, if you took Dragon Slave, it adds 85 damage, but it's another 100 mana. And you only have so much mana at the start of the game, and you can't really afford too much mana regen and all that. So we have to be a little conservative with what we have. Fiery Soul is a passive, it's not going to use any mana, so it's really good to take level 2. But then what it gives you is more attack speed. In fact, it's 900 gold worth of attack speed. Gloves of Haste being 20 attack speed, so you have 2. That's what 1 point in Fiery Soul is. The reason Lina has risen to popularity again is because the duration of Fiery Soul used to be 10 seconds. And so you would start with Light Strike Array, but Light Strike Array is also 10 seconds. So it wasn't possible to stack Fiery Soul because it would just expire before you could cast the next spell. But now that it's 12 seconds, if you so choose, you can fire... Oops, I have the cheats on. But right before this expires, you have 2 seconds to decide, do I want to keep this up? Can we fight here? And if you do, you get to cast it again, and now you have 1,800 gold worth of extra attack speed, 80 extra attack speed, and this is when your constant right clicks come into play, and this is what Lina loves. So, level 1, you can cast a couple Light Strike Arrays. Don't be worried about that. But don't blow all your mana on Light Strike Array, because we really want to maximize our level 2 spike with this Fiery Soul, and now, as they're like running around, you know, we poke, stun, and then we get in more attacks because of this Fiery Soul. And that's how you win trades as Lina. If they come to fight you, you're like, whatever, I have more attack speed. And then, boom. Hit them with another stun, you're even faster. And a lot of people don't expect this. This is how you can kind of get some kills that way. If they decide, okay, you know what, this sucks, I'm going to die. Guess what? I'm faster now from my Fiery Soul stacks. And I'm attacking faster. Benefited by my 1.6 base attack time. So then you have chase potential. So keeping that in mind, it's not very useful to cast Light Strike Array when the enemy, let's drop a ward so we can see. If anti-mage is over here, I can attack, stun, attack, and I might get in a few attacks. But then they're under tower and I don't want to chase, and now I'm going to waste half of the fiery soul duration. So when you're in the laning stage, try to keep that in mind. Am I actually going to be able to chase them and hit them with fiery soul? Or am I only going to get in like the 3 attacks right away? Now, if you're at full mana, just go for it, right? Get your mana regen going. But if you're trying to like start to conserve mana, like you're down to the last like 200, then maybe that's not the best use when you don't get to chase them. Or when they're like possibly in trees. You can break trees with Light Strike Array, but maybe they go into more trees and you're not going to get to use the Fiery Soul too much. Maybe that's not the time. Just a consideration for you guys. Now, as you level up, level 3, Light Strike Array again. I think this is really good because it only takes 5 more mana. You get more stun time, which combined with your fast attack speed from Fiery Soul at this point, you now get in more attacks. Especially if you have an offlane partner who can attack too, they get in more attacks. The damage goes up a little bit. That's not really the important part. If you were to take Dragon Slave, that's 100 more mana you need to have every time you try to use these 2 spells. And frankly, 1 extra auto attack during this 0.3 extra stun is probably worth about as much damage as Dragon Slave is, especially considering that they have magic resist, and maybe they're an anti-mage who has some bonus magic resist, so even less than usual. At level 4, though, you will start to take Dragon Slave, because you're going to max it at this point. So from here, you're going to just, you're going to have something like this by level 8. You're going to max Dragon Slave, 2 points in LSA, 1 point in Fiery Soul, and your ultimate, of course. Why? Because up to level 3, you kind of need to conserve your mana. Level 4 and 5, probably still true. But by the time you're like level 6, 7, 8, you have gold now. You've hopefully bought some mana regen items, things like that. And now you want to start maxing your Dragon Slave because we do have a bit of mana to use with it. And we're going to use it to defend waves, maybe push towers, farm camps, things like that. Like I said, support Lina is a little bit greedy. And so this is where you want Dragon Slave maxed. I'm not going to talk too much further beyond that because, again, this is a laning-focused video. But once you have level 4, for example, you may not want to use Dragon Slave still. Like, you may still focus on, like, stuns and just right-clicks, and then only if the fight looks like it's really breaking out that you then commit the rest of the mana to get in more damage and more Fiery Soul stacks. Otherwise, if, like, they're still full health and you're in the lane, you're, like, level 4, just do the usual, like, poke and right clicks, and don't worry too much about using both spells right away because it will burn through all your mana. Let's briefly talk about the starting items before we get into the examples. Keep in mind what we've talked about. I want to constantly right click and be annoying, so getting damage could help, and Light Strike Array gives me a lot of value by getting Fiery Soul stacks, but also I stun them, and that might combo with my offlaner, or it just gives me more time to get in my right clicks for damage. So when you itemize for Lina, you typically want to emphasize one of those 2 things, if not both. I want more right click damage to be annoying, and I want more mana regen to cast more Light Strike Array to get more right clicks in. So one thing you could do, get a Tango, of course, that's a given. And then something people are doing lately is getting this Null Talisman. You get these stats, so that's a bit of damage, bit more survivability, bit more mana pool. The spell amp doesn't really matter at the start of the game. Your spells just don't do a lot of damage. It'll have value later on, so there's like some secret long-term value there, but really we don't need to think about it right now. And then the 0.6 mana regen will help us cast more Light Strike Arrays. So Null Talisman offers a lot of things that support Lina likes, and it's all in one slot, and we will hold this probably for the rest of the game because you're a support, you're not going to get that farmed. So it's a lot of value like so. But it uses all your gold. You have 5 left. And if you need anything else, this isn't going to cut it. So a build I'd probably recommend a little bit more is to start with Mantle and Circlet, which gives you all the stats that Null Talisman had, and the only thing we're missing at this point is the Spell Amp, which we said doesn't really matter right now, and the mana regen. But you still have enough mana to cast Light Strike Array like 4 times before you need more mana, maybe 5 times with the regen you have naturally. So like this 0.6 mana regen is nice to have, and it'll definitely help long term, but if you're missing it for the first minute or two, it's fine. So you can just get these two and you're good to go with all the damage and all that. Now I said, oh, what if you need something else? So something else might be like the sentry. You want to block a camp, you're with a Sand King, so you want to like beat them with the sentry war. Whatever reason, maybe you need a sentry. So what else can you buy from there? A mango to make sure you can cast Light Strike Array when you really need it. The Fairy Fire, also good, more damage for your right click. And, you know, Lina kind of favors surprising the enemy because LSA is actually quite low cooldown if you think about it, 10 or 9 seconds at level 2. And now she's getting Fiery Soul Stack. So they might think they can kill you. Then you pop Fairy Fire, you stun them, and now you're attacking really fast with the second Fiery Soul Stack. Maybe that's your third. And then you kill them before the stun ends. So Fairy Fire has some good value for Lina. So this could be something you build. Maybe you just want to go really stat heavy, just emphasize your damage a lot. You get like double Iron Branch, Fairy Fire. Now you have even more stats. This is 9 extra damage between these starting items. So if you attack 10 times, that's 90 extra damage you wouldn't have had before. You can either use Iron Branches for a wand later or eat them with your tangos. Either is fine. Lina gets to be like to skip regen a little bit with her items because she's so long range and she's not looking for equal trade. She's looking for free hits. So you don't need to go too much into regen. Usually one tango's okay. Maybe you need more, but you don't have to start right away with it. Maybe you need to salve, stuff like that. We're not going to cover every example. The last build I want to, main build, she still has a lot of flexibility, is this like Blightstone. So if your offlaner can also attack a lot, Blightstone has a lot of value. Because let's say they have 2 armor, this is essentially 10% more damage. She has 55 base damage, so essentially 5 more damage per attack, which is what the stat items gave us. And now the offlaner also gets, say, 5 extra damage. So now we both attack, that's 10 extra damage. That's something that the circlet and the mantle didn't give you. Now, if the enemy has high base armor, or you have an offlaner who's not going to right-click very much, then the Blightstone doesn't really make much sense, because you get some damage from it, but it doesn't really help with your survivability or mana pool like these stat items did. So this is a bit more niche, and if you want to try it out because you think it's a good match, go for it, but you don't have to do this, but it is an option, and then you just buy the same idea, maybe a mango, maybe some Iron Branches, stuff like that. But I personally think if you're like unclear, something like this is a very safe build. Maybe Iron Branches, mix it up a little bit, but something like this, and then you finish the Null Talisman pretty quickly if you want, or you can even leave it as these and sell them off later. It's fine. This will be laning focused, but just to give you an idea so you're not totally clueless, feel free to get Raindrops, Magic Stick, Sage's Mask casually, could also be a starting item. If you think about it, just more mana regen for more casts. That's the whole idea. Your core items are going to be building Arcane Boots, disassemble them into Aether Lens, and then build a Eul's. This will just help you cast LSA from further away. Eul's will be your setup to cast your stun if you need a bit more reliability with that. It's a classic combo. This heavily emphasizes mana and mana regen, so she can cast a lot of spells in team fights, specifically her stun, output a lot of damage, output those AoE stuns, and because they're low cooldown, she needs enough mana to do that. Otherwise, it's like, why am I playing this hero? And that's what these items really help a lot with. Late game, I put a couple options here. I don't know, check Dota buff, check some guides, follow those. I don't want to worry about that too much. She has a lot of different things she can do, and it would make this video even longer than it already is. Finally, let me show you some examples. So this is an unranked party game, not the highest level of play, but I think you'll be able to see what I'm talking about. I messed some stuff up as well, so we can laugh at me. Lina is great at these bounty rune fights that have been coming up lately because of this AoE stun, the long range. I am laning with a Slardar, great combo. Anyone with a stun is usually awesome with Lina, but the cool thing about her is that she still fits a lot of other offlaners. You don't have to have a combo. It's all right. I have the Circle and Mantlet, or switch that. Mantle and Circlet. Slardar does benefit from the Blightstone quite a lot with the way his bash works, but Luna is a high armor hero, and Dark Willow has her Shadow Realm ability, which means we can't even right-click her, so I chose to just amplify my own damage, and then look for the extra mana pool from them to be able to cast more LSA strikes, because if we get the combo, then it's really powerful, and getting the combo matters more for damage versus like a couple extra damage from the Blightstone. So what you're going to see here that I do, I'm just going to constantly be annoying and right-click. And actually, we're already going too fast. I want to emphasize when I use Light Strike here. So one, it's good to use when you're just full mana. So feel free to do that. I should swap this Iron Branch in. That's bad of me. But keep an eye on this range creep. It's getting low, and so I should stun. I had to walk in a little bit, and so I mess it up. So she did end up getting the last hit. She used Lucent Beam for it. But that's what I was going for. I was trying to stun her, and while she's stunned, I will deny the range creep, or maybe the Slardar will, either one. But that's a great time to use it. And I knew exactly where she was going to be because I knew she wanted to go for the last hit. And then I just want to like be annoying and poke. You see where she's at. I've hit her with one spell. I've hit her with a lot of right clicks. I just denied one creep. And I haven't taken any damage whatsoever. Now I do because I'm dumb and I let Dark Willow walk in. But the first minute was kind of good. So here, she's still laning. I'm just going to get these free auto attacks. Look, those 2 auto attacks, that's like 100 extra damage for free, for nothing. Now, I did walk in a little too far, so they are going to start retaliating here. But you get that idea, right? So this was not the greatest trade for me. I took more damage than I would have liked. My positioning right here is a little scary. You see them getting in some extra damage. And that is poor positioning on my part. A little bit forced by the brambles because I couldn't walk this way. I kind of had to go this way. But you see, that is when I finally took damage, when I got too close to them. The first minute, I was way further back, and I did half of Luna's health without ever being touched. And that is what Lina is all about. She likes having melee offlaners because the melee guy goes in front and she gets to have that extra distance. Here we go again. I see this range creep. I want it. I'm going to use Light Strike Array. I was trying to stun both, but I used Light Strike Array to stun and secure it. Or tried. She stepped out. Now, I ended up a little far ahead. This is a little greedy on my part. So I'm not going to get to use the Fiery Soul to attack, but I will get to use the move speed to escape a little sooner. Now I'm in an awkward spot with regen. I said Lina likes to skip regen, and if you play it properly, you're good. I kind of misplayed a little bit, and now I'm like, oh man, I wish I had more regen, which can happen to a lot of new players, but I do want to emphasize the reason I need more regen here is not because the hero needs more regen, it's because I messed up. And so if you don't mess up, you don't need this extra regen as much as someone who is shorter range or melee who cannot help but take damage just by playing the game. Lina can avoid damage. So I do end up queuing up a salve. But here, I'm low, and I'm still managing to poke her a bit. This is like my 3rd, 4th attack. I missed a stun. Oops. Timing was poor. She got the range creep. Like I said, guys, I messed up. Walked into brambles here, but I knew I wouldn't die here because I had the Fairy Fire and I had enough regen. So I told Slardar, like, let's go on her. Because she just used her escape skill as well. So I land the stun. I was trying to stun a little sooner so she didn't get the auto attack off. Messed it up, but it's fine. So now Slardar's going to come and bash. I'm sorry, Alex. Alex has stun, guys, and he blanked out and didn't use it. He apologized so hard for it. I'm sorry, Alex. I know you're going to watch this video. I'm sorry. I got to show the people the clips, the examples. But you guys see how that combo would have worked, right? I stun, the Slardar comes in, bashes, stuns. It's a very straightforward combo. That's why Slardar Lina is a classic. Lina likes doing pulls like this. I'm a little low health, so it's a bit scary. But when Luna or whoever comes up to contest, it's usually pretty easy to stun Light Strike Array. I almost die here. So Slardar gets to go in here a bit. Now we're saying like, oh, go on her. So bash, stun. Now my stun. Very easy combo, right? I'm going to die for it, but I don't really care. We killed the Luna first, and it's a support for a core. I wouldn't have even died if I didn't screw up the earlier stuff. But there we go. Alex redeemed, right? We got the combo, very straightforward like that. Now I'm respawning here. I'm buying infused raindrops because she's been casting a lot of Lucent Beams, the mana regen to cast more Light Strike Arrays, a bit more survivability. I asked Alex what he needs. So I'm bringing him some items, got my Clarity, got a Sentry, and now we're ready to just do the same thing. We're going to start poking her, being annoying. I have full mana to start casting my spells. Oh, I finished the Null Talisman too. I'm going to do a pull here. Like I said, I like pulls as Lina. If you can, I mean, obviously you still avoid bad pulls and stuff like that. But when they see a pull happening, they try to contest it. Easy stun. Have a bit of overlap here. Very little. He couldn't really help that he had the bash on that hit. And it's fine. Like, we don't get the kill, but whatever. Look, the pull's happening, and she lost 2/3 of her health. And right now, we didn't really suffer too much. Slardar's taking a bit of damage now, but I'm ready to go again. I'm going to cast... I should have cast my stun a little sooner. I'd have my second point in Fiery Souls right now. But Luna is scared to contest this. She's trying, but I get to just hit her now for free with what we have. So now this pull... It's not... I'm not doing the best. I should be, like, zoning them a little better. But you see how Luna can't come in. And that's kind of the important part. Now I get to, like, do these last hits. I'm going to use LSA to try to secure the last hits because I was scared I'd miss. And I have enough mana that it's fine. Now I'm level 4. I'm going to start taking the Dragon Slave. I don't actually want to use it too much unless we get into the full fight. Kind of poking a bit with my damage. Or my auto attacks, I mean. Here we've got another example of the combo. So the cool thing, as long as your lane partner has stuns, it doesn't really matter who goes first. So in this case, I go first because I'm a ranged hero, I'm able to do it. But maybe if Luna had walked up, Slardar could stun first, and then I do the follow-up. It doesn't really matter. So in this case, I stun first, then we have the follow-ups, and now we have the easy kill, right? If I miss the stun, whatever. Look, I have enough mana to use the stun 3 more times. That's why, like, a bit of mana regen goes a long way, and why it still works. Even if I miss the stun, I have the Fiery Souls, so I still get to try to get some damage and value out of it. There we go, some utility. I can hit Dark Willow, even though she's untargetable in that time, and she wasn't able to get her Shadow Realm hit off for it. Like I said, a lot of ways you can use this because it is a skill shot. So be creative, go for things. I want to show this. Here's an example of when you might use Dragon Slave. So it kind of looks like I might kill Dark Willow. So I want to... Honestly, I should have Dragon Slaved sooner, and then I would have more attack speed. So, like, actually, let me play that again. So here, I should have stunned, attack, Dragon Slave in between that attack. So this was like 2 auto attacks I got there before I used Dragon Slave. And if I had Dragon Slave sooner, I'd be at 2 points in Fiery Soul already. And so maybe that would have been 3 auto attacks I get in. And then maybe the 4th one, because I'm a little faster sooner, maybe that would have been the Dark Willow kill. But that still conceptually is when you use Dragon Slave. When it's like, okay, it's time to go for it. This is, by the way, a misclick on my part. I meant to max Dragon Slave here, not get the 3rd point in LSA. Don't do this, guys. It's a mistake. But yeah, don't just casually use Dragon Slave because you'll burn through all your mana. Now, this is actually where we're going to start to end because it is just supposed to be a laning focus. But this is a great time to remind you guys, and in fact, I haven't said it before, so I guess I'm just telling you, the greatest weakness of support Lina, which is why I am hesitant to recommend her to beginners. I still think she is good for beginners, but the biggest downfall is over-farming. Dragon Slave and LSA make it so easy and tempting to farm everything. And so, like, right here, I think a lot of players would just farm this. They just nuke the wave, take all the last hits as much as possible, probably have more points in Dragon Slave instead of misclicking, and so it'd be easier. But sometimes you don't want to do that. Sometimes you want your cores to farm. And so, for example, here, I'm just getting last hits with my right click. I am going to take a bit of tower damage for not killing this creep wave as fast as possible. But look, Slardar is here for 3 creeps. And if I had just nuked the wave, everything would be dead right now. And maybe the catapult will be dead. But look, I'm really not taking too much tower damage. Like, a little bit's not too bad. And so in this way, I was able to get Slardar a bit of farm. Sorry, Alex, I'm showing you miss a couple last hits. My bad. But yeah. And then you still want farm because you're a greedy hero. So what you should look to do is to stack and pull a lot. Because you can just nuke out waves if they get too close to your tower, or you can nuke the camps. And if you stack camps, which you're a long-range hero, so you can easily do, you can also use Dragon Slaves to stack things you can't see. Then your cores are tempted to go do the stacks, and you get to take a lane, and you get to farm that way. Or you can farm the stacks yourself because you have this awesome Dragon Slave spell that does a ton of AoE damage. So those are 2 ways you can get farm for your greedy Lina support. And then that's kind of it, guys. You can pseudo-scale into a core. You don't have to. You can still emphasize your stuns. You can get the Ags to try to kill off the core really quickly, even with the BKB going, just because you pierce through it. Right now, for example, I think a great thing for me to do would be to go stack this jungle here. I could maybe even triple stack. I don't know if Lina can do it, but at least double stack. But you know what? I'm going to use the tower as well. Hey, here's a creative use of LSA. Clear out some trees so you can see if people are teleporting in. It can... we mentioned it can break trees, but that's one of the ways you can use it. You can use it to open up paths, or you can use it to make sure it's safe to push towers like so. So yeah, I think we're going to end here. Let me know what you guys think about this. I know there's more to the game, and like maybe you still have more Lina questions, but I do want it to focus on the laning stage. I think she's great for beginner heroes, and if you follow this idea, like I'm just going to be really annoying, constantly right-clicking, use the stun when it's a good time for it. I think it's a great way to start the lane off well, and then I believe in you guys. I'm sure you guys will be fine mid to late game. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Bye.